I will be the first to go to the line and to tell you that we could not get through the pandemic without the Cuban nurses and the Cuban doctors. I will also be the first to tell you that we paid them the same thing that we pay Bajans, and that the notion, as was peddled not just by this government in the US, but the previous government, that we were involved in human trafficking by engaging with the Cuban nurses was fully repudiated and rejected by us. Now, I don't believe that we have to shout across the seas, but I am prepared, like others in this region, that if we cannot reach a sensible agreement on this matter, then if the cost of it is the loss of my visa to the US, then so be it. What the Cubans have been able to do for us, far from approximating itself to human trafficking, has been to save lives and limbs and sight for many a Caribbean person.
The hemodialysis which we do in St. Vincent at the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center with these 60 persons, without the Cubans there, I will not be able to offer that service. Does anybody expect that to go because I want to keep a visa, that I would let 60 persons from the poor and working people to die? It will never happen.
Out of the blue now we are being called human traffickers because we hire technical people who we pay top dollar equal to local rates. I just came back from California, and if I never there again in my life, I will ensure that the sovereignty of Trinidad and Tobago is known to its people and respected by all.
Caribbean leaders are pushing back against a new U.S. policy that aims to crack down on Cuban medical missions, stating that the work of hundreds of Cuban medical staff across the region is essential. Last Tuesday, 15 foreign ministers from CARICOM met in Washington after receiving threats that their visas will be restricted if they involve themselves with Cuban missions. Marco Rubio called it forced labor. Kamina Johnson-Smith, a foreign minister of Jamaica, said that Cuba has some 24,180 doctors working in 56 nations, with the missions boosting healthcare across the Caribbean, especially in impoverished nations with limited medical services, and that the island of Jamaica has more than 400 Cuban doctors, nurses, biomedical engineers, and technicians. The prime ministers of Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I believe Barbados as well, have publicly opposed the new policy and said that they would gladly give up their U.S. visas. St. Vincent Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves said he will prefer to lose his visa than to have 60 poor and working people die. He also said that Cuban doctors have provided critical care to patients, including 60 who receive dialysis treatment. Dialysis treatment, for those who are not aware, is a medical treatment for individuals whose kidney are failing. It performs the functions that a kidney can no longer do, such as removing waste products, excess fluids, and toxins from the blood. Prime Minister Raleigh of Trinidad and Tobago told reporters that he wouldn't mind losing his U.S. visa either. He told reporters that he just came back from California and that he will never go back there in his life, and that he will ensure that the sovereignty of Trinidad and Tobago is known to his people and respected by all. That is a very powerful statement. We have to remember this about the Caribbean. The Caribbean is where the slave trade ended. Just as the water is salty and rich, so is the people. We are fighters in the Caribbean. When they realized that they were losing by keeping our people as slaves, then they had to transition to what we have today. So naturally, we are fighters. And that is why they ensure that you don't see that you are at war. And that is where the Caribbean vanguards come in. We can detect it and we point it out. Everyone is not going to see it. We are not all chosen to see this thing, right? Most of the people are there to be utilized by the ones who know themselves. Prime Minister Raleigh also said that the idea of people being exploited is simply one's interpretation. So you see how Marco Rubio is trying to bully the Caribbean. That is why I say, vanguards, we have to ensure that we keep the salt in the ocean. We keep the salt in the people. Because we are so divided. We are small, tiny nations, and we are so divided. That is why they can pick on the Caribbean. If we were united, they would not come at us. They would not come at us like that. We cannot allow people to divide us from the government. Yes, I have my thing that I say about the government. We should have an independent mind outside of it, because they are serving two masters. They are serving the rich and famous, and they're also serving the people. So the people should have an independent mind, but we have to make sure that we own the government, because those who are in the government are our children. They're our fathers, our uncles, our brothers, our sisters. The ones who've been there for generation upon generation. And we have the numbers, and we should maintain the numbers. We cannot have people coming in, buying us out, and pushing us out.